There's no way my mother can still love me the way my father said she did. Yeah. More like a brother to the others, but to my sister I am nothing but another statistic. When you're birthed by 7 women over 13 days, superstitious happy endings seem farther away than you may want to believe. Oh. Is sleeping with our greatest enemy. We still love him like we did when we were kids. But if another of my brothers meets that reaper early, there will be nothing that can stop revolution. Now my mouth keeps running, but it's running in place, and the mask I used to wear is now becoming my face. There's no way I won't be seen. I learned to love myself. I learned to love myself. Abandonment cannot exist within the plan. And if I feel myself, I learned to do it with a touch of death. Myself, I learned to love myself, abandonment. So when you feel yourself, you should be careful with the touch of death. When now my lover is screaming, Jason, can you love me? When you never even acted like you did. You see the problem, I see it with being so damn empty. We see I'm running when you're completely full of shit. I am the same one that was there again.
If I'm the devil is one of those like if-then statements. It's essentially, at least to me, it's this offering to those that are willing to listen. You know, both ideologically and sonically, it's like our way of representing Let Live in this new light.
Are you the one, the handsome bastard son that nobody will talk about at all? Most fortunate of sons that no one gives a damn about at all. I am singing for you, I'm singing for you. All the privileged and the foolish, this is for you.
You know, I being the person that writes lyrics for this band, I went through a lot of figuring out, you know, I guess who I am in the band, but that came from trying to realize who I was in the more macroscopic view and figure out my place, and learning that at times throughout my life I may have been considered, I guess, the opposite, the antithesis of what I believed I was to be, and that was, I guess, one way of representing that would be the devil. And my question to myself would always be, well, if I'm this negative thing, if I'm a large word would be evil, then what are all these other things that I'm fighting against?
Can you name one bullet sang alone? A person that is hurt about us. But where's all of all these sad old songs? No verse was ever sung about them. I'm singing for you. I'm singing for you. All the privilege and the foolish, this is for you. It's what you think, therefore I am. We found the devil, you're the reason. The reason that we kill ourselves, give ourselves all away. It's what you all say, what you all say, man.
I personally felt like I had really reached a sort of crux moment in my life, in my search for, I guess like spiritual and intellectual and emotional epiphany. Looking for those things, I realized that I was quite possibly lessening my chances at times because of my sort of reckless nature and this strange penchant for self-abandon that I was exhibiting over the years, retrospectively, or like looking back when I would reflect on what I had done and how I'd done it and how I got where I was. I think I was crediting a lot of the wrong things. And the things that I was crediting were not necessarily any things that would be admirable to most people. So I know that I had a difficulty understanding why. There's always that question, why, like that eternal question. And I was trying to figure out why. I had just resigned to the fact that, love and, with another human being for me may actually just not be in the cards, or at least as typically as I'd seen it in storybooks and on the movie screen. And that was a hard thing to come to terms with. And then I was searching for this idea of life, trying to grasp the worth of life by challenging it and understanding my mortality by essentially threatening myself in order to enhance the fact that I was still alive. Like really weird, strange, and absurd ways of living or feeling alive. Those all really did creep into my artistic self, my artistic nature, and who I was and what I wanted, again, artistically. But I think that I know that, there was a moment where I had to walk into the studio with the guys and tell them who I was, who I'd been, who I'd realized I had been, and it was difficult. I spent at the time it was like 13 or 12 years of my life in letlive as someone who was discussing the difficulties of vulnerability, like emotional vulnerability, and with them alongside me for many of those years. And I had to now return to them and say, I'm still having a hard time with this. And that was difficult for me. And then sometimes feeling as though, the world just didn't get it. Like the world, like, and not just my band, but just people didn't get how much this idea of art really did sort of serve as an exorcism of those things that I needed to get out of me. So I think I felt challenged in a way sometimes by my own band. And I think, again, there is a lot of that is personal. A lot of that is were my insecurities, and realize, and in order to get what we needed, I had to get over that. That coupled with, I think everyone, and like I said, I don't like to speak for the band, but this is just my observation, objectively speaking, when I step outside of it, of the scenario, I do think that we were all in a very fragile place, and we were all searching for something, whether it was musically, aesthetically, emotionally, personally, whatever. We were all looking for something, and I think our journeys were taking us in different places, and but the destination was always If I'm the Devil. No matter what avenue we were looking towards or considering, or even, in my case, walking down, the destination always, it had to remain If I'm the Devil, or else we wouldn't be a band. We really wouldn't. Like, there had to be a common goal, and that braid was, again, this record.
This album is, I think, the first perennial album that we've ever created, to be honest. I think it's the first record that I can very confidently say I can show it to every person in my family, as well as my best friend and random people on the street. And I'm excited to really expose it to those types of people. And it's the first record that really kind of reflects, I think, all of us as individuals in this current day and age, which is kind of difficult to do, I think, as an artist, especially when you have a career.
Being that this is the first album that I've done with the band, seeing where they've come from like the albums before Fake History, everyone's growing up. Everyone's making music that, you're actually proud to show, and you're actually music you actually like. So it wasn't just like, we have to play this because this portion of the world loves this type of music. It's like, well, if that's only one part of the world, but what about everything else? What about what we want to do, like longevity? What songs do we want to play for the rest of our careers? And if our career is forever, like the rest of our lives, like, we don't want to be a band that's like 60 years old playing songs that we absolutely hate, you know what I mean? So the progression is, on this album, it's great. It's definitely something that I back 100%.
I think it definitely represents a major progression, even personally also. You kind of got to notice, or it's very educational at the same time too. I mean, we've definitely, so much experimentation and things happen that you never thought would happen in the process. And I work on a lot of albums in my life, and this was definitely the most intimate, the most vulnerable I've ever been in a process like this.
I've made it a point in like every time I've discussed it to be very transparent and candid about how the process went, because I want people to understand the reality of this art and the reality of the outcome and the culmination and what we ended up with being a positive thing, and how we were able to sort of squeeze a positive from a negative, because I definitely think it was the most difficult recording, writing, congregating, artistic congregation, and collaboration I've ever been a part of. I think this record really did try us as individuals first, before we were even able to get in the door to start writing a record as a unit. So I guess the eagle eye, bird's eye view of all of it would be understanding that there was contention. There were moments where we weren't able to get out of our own way, just to start writing the song, because the song means, 4 parts need to make one thing. So if we can't even begin to get out of our own way and put down our own sense of ego and pride and desires, like personal desires as artists, what we want from this one thing that will have to pass through the committee of 3 others. If we don't get what we want, then it might make it more difficult for us to enjoy the subsequential order of writing, these next songs.
Brandon, we all come from different musical backgrounds, so everybody had different visions as to where they wanted the album to go in the end. But yeah, it was just a lot of dissecting, a lot of ripping certain areas of the songs apart, and then kind of rebuilding them. Sometimes we started completely from scratch. We'd maybe work on something for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then just hit the delete button and start all over, which was kind of great in some ways and kind of horrible in others. But it all worked out. I remember sitting back when the record was done and just kind of hitting play, and it's it's just such a vast state of nostalgia, and also you kind of sit back and watch an album sort of write itself, because in the end you kind of don't really remember how how it went from point A to point B. Or sometimes I'll sit back and I'll listen to the demos that maybe I wrote in a van somewhere on my guitar when I was riffing off into what the song became after 4 other individuals kind of came in and sort of manipulated it.
It was really, really difficult to get moving, and really, really difficult to get everybody in the right headspace. I think every single person struggled this entire time. It was unbelievably hard to get through the beginning of the process. I mean, everybody had very personal things going on that got in the way of making music again, and it took a lot of time and efforts toward each other to get to where we went, and thankfully, in the end, it turned out to be something pretty beautiful.
Let's see, wash, rinse, repeat. It was like a 1.5 years of writing, thinking you're done with a song and like being super stoked on it, and then someone comes in with a new idea, and then the song completely transforms into something else. So within a matter of 2 weeks, a song that you think's done has then been dissected and redone and then changed, and then you've got a period of close to a 1.5 years of that. So there's so many different like versions of the songs that happen.
Everybody kind of went about it sort of the same way, just kind of collecting or putting all their ideas into one, sort of like a schematic almost, and then showing it to the rest of the members, and then everybody kind of coming in, giving their opinions, and what they thought should change here, organization of all the material, arrangements, riffs, and then from there, we got to show it to Lonnie, who came in, kind of, turned these sort of program drums on some ideas into, kind of in the acoustic realm.
I was actually sleeping in the studio for a long time. So we had a van bench that was my bed. And so I would practice, everyone would leave the studio, and then I would stay and drum, whatever, and then go to bed on the bench. So basically drum, go to sleep at work, wake up at work, go to work for months. So that was I look back at it now and I'm like, it was pretty tough, pretty difficult, but it worked.
Yeah, I think like anything else, I'm definitely not embarrassed to say that we definitely went through hell in this album process. At some times was definitely a fucking nightmare. And I'm not embarrassed to say it because I don't think we'd be, the band are as strong as we are right now had we not gone through the things that we went through trying to, give birth to this album. We're in there about 5 or 6 days a week. I mean, I was up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And you get in there and everybody kind of met up around 9, 10 o'clock, and we sat in there all day, every day, and kind of dissected this material and these ideas that we had, which was awesome. It kind of turned into us going and hanging out in the room even if we had no work to do. I think it was a beautiful thing in the end, and I don't think I'd take back a single moment, although there was definitely some moments that nearly almost took the life of this band.
I think truly, if anything, yeah, there was a sense of like creative, I guess, headbutting at times. I know that a few of us wanted, I guess all of us for the most part, we wanted something. We knew we wanted something. And at times, I think the visions we had personally made it difficult, kind of gave us these blinders, when we were trying to figure out, when we were trying to flesh out what the unit was asking for from those songs. But in the end, we got it together. You must remember as a band, but more, again, namely like as Let Live, like this is much bigger than just us, just the four of us, and what each one of us want. This is something that has actually become in a strange way, autonomous, and therefore it will operate and evolve on its own, and we must remember that we're simply here to write the soundtrack and to propagate and to nurture that thing that is Let Live. But in the end, it is bigger than us, and I think we realized that, and we were able to, because of that committee, that panel that I was talking about that had to filter through, it actually made it so the songs had to be good. Like they had to be. They had to have this appeal to at least 4 people. And the fact that we're so disparate, that we come from such different backgrounds, and that we enjoy such different things musically, artistically, personally, that made for, I think, some very, very wide-reaching, ambitious, and cool songs on the record.
We would like for this album to reach a larger demographic of people. This is the first album that I've had out of the 3 that I could actually show to like my dad and like my sisters and brothers, people who don't listen to rock music. All the music I've been playing growing up was just screaming and Chinas and breakdowns and stuff. So I can actually say, hey, listen to this track all the way through. There's one song in there you might not like because it's all screaming, but you got 10 other ones that you'll probably like.
I hope that the material kind of translates in a way that makes people feel, small hints of what we felt when we were, writing it, or maybe what we've been through trying to complete it. I think there's a lot of beautiful moments, and I think there are a lot of musical journeys from front to back. I don't think it's a collection of just songs. I don't think it's, it's a catalog of just riffs. I think they're stories. I think they're, I think they're journeys. You kind of sit back, in a gym. You can maybe be working out. There's some tracks that are going to pump you up. There's some tracks that I think you can kind of sit down at a dinner table and sip on some wine and just kind of have the album playing in the background too. So it's very versatile and very dynamic, and I think a lot of people will be able to kind of, I hope it kind of delivers to people what they need, based on whatever, moods per se that they might be in, or whatever they might be going through in life. I think there's definitely something for everybody on that entire catalog we put together. So.
finally, what is it like being in a band with these guys?
Nowadays, now being in a band with this group is fantastic. I think we're getting along and we bond more than we ever have. It's been hell in the past. So it took us all a lot of growth to get to where we are now. So the thing is, though, this band somehow in its worst moments is, in my opinion, a stronger group than most others. So yeah, it's had its hardships and it's had its ups and downs, and mostly downs. We didn't communicate enough, and nowadays we communicate probably too much.
It's great. It's interesting because of all those, like I said, those backgrounds from which we all hail from. You know, we're from very, very different places. We're from very, very different cultures, and that shaped us in ways that that come alive in Let Live. I think that's what this whole thing is about. You know, is people understanding the disparity, the difference, the distinguishing qualities about each member, and what we bring to this thing, this essence and the attitude that is Let Live. So for me, it's just eye-opening, man. Like it really, like it's like going to like 3-4 different corners of the world and like figuring out that my way of doing things and my way of existing is not the only way, and it's not always the right way. You know, oftentimes it's not the right way. I mean, that again, that's some whole fucking subjective relativity shit, the right way, but it's beneficial in the ways that many, I think that the benefit is understanding yourself better because of the uniqueness of those around you. And you know, again, people must understand, like being such different people in such close quarters for such a long amount of time is difficult. Like, I don't care what anyone says, it's difficult. And somewhere or another it will, you know, create this sense of some arduous or tumult, you know, like you got to get over some shit. But being in a band with these dudes is, you know, it's made me understand music in a way that I don't think I ever would have. Had I gone and been like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do a solo like when I thought I was gonna be a Disney kid or like a fucking, you know, like be in The Lion King on Broadway. I really did think that. It would not have been this accepting, and it wouldn't have been this well-rounded. And I do have my band to thank for all the wildness and the wackiness that I would never have considered before. I do consider now because I've been confronted with it, and I think that we go into a place of safety as musicians and artists when we're completely solo and isolated. And I have to be thankful for every you know, fantastic moment as well as like the hardship with this band, but it's good.
We all came to watch our world as it burns. We all came to watch our world as it burns. We all came to watch our world as it burns. We all came to watch our world as it burns.
No, not really. Just yeah, hope you enjoy.